I need you to know something before I tell you the rest of this story. My name is Robert Chen. I'm 67 years old, and until 3 months ago, I didn't believe in dreams. I didn't believe in signs. I didn't believe that the people we love could reach across the divide between life and death to protect us. But on November 28th of last year, my late wife Margaret saved my life from our own daughter. Let me start from the beginning. Margaret and I were married for 41 years. She passed away 4 years ago from pancreatic cancer, and I'll be honest with you, part of me died with her that day. We'd built everything together. Our home in Seattle, our furniture restoration business, our daughter Claire. When the doctors told us she had 6 months, we made every single day count. We took that trip to Vancouver Island she'd always wanted. We renewed our vows in our backyard with just Claire and our closest friends. We spent hours just sitting on our porch, holding hands, watching the rain. The night before she died, Margaret squeezed my hand and said, "Promise me you'll keep living, Robert. Don't just exist. Live," I promised her. I meant it. But after she was gone, I didn't know how to keep that promise. For 4 years, I went through the motions. I'd wake up, make coffee for 2 out of habit, then pour the second cup down the sink. I'd go to the workshop and restore furniture, mostly alone. Claire would visit every Sunday with her husband Derek and their 2 boys, my grandsons Tyler and Mason. Those Sundays were the only light in my week. I lived for those afternoons when the house felt full again, when I could hear the boys running through the hallway, when Claire would hug me and I'd catch a whiff of her perfume that smelled just like her mother's. Claire had always been our miracle. Margaret and I tried for years to have children, went through 3 rounds of IVF, had almost given up hope. Then, at 42, Margaret got pregnant naturally. Claire was born when I was 43 years old, healthy and perfect. We poured everything into her. Private schools, piano lessons, college tuition. When she married Derek, a software engineer at Microsoft, and they bought a beautiful house in Bellevue, Margaret and I felt like we'd done something right. But about 6 months ago, I started noticing changes. Claire seemed stressed, distracted. She'd show up for Sunday dinners, but she'd spend half the time on her phone, texting. When I asked if everything was okay, she'd snap at me, then apologize. "Just work stuff, Dad," she'd say. "It's fine." Derek seemed distant too, barely making eye contact. The boys were quieter than usual. Then, in October, Claire asked me about my will. We were sitting at my kitchen table, just the 2 of us. Derek had taken the boys to the park. She brought it up casually, too casually. "Dad," I was thinking, "have you updated your estate planning lately? You know, since Mom passed?" I told her yes. Everything was in order. The house, the workshop, my retirement accounts, all of it would go to her. It was worth about $1.5 million, total. Not a fortune. But Margaret and I had been careful, saved well. Claire nodded, smiled. "Good. I just worry about you, that's all. Want to make sure you're taken care of." But something in her eyes looked off. Hungry, almost. I pushed the feeling down. This was my daughter, my only child. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, Claire showed up at my door on a Wednesday afternoon, which was unusual. She never came over on weekdays. She was holding a small gift box, wrapped in silver paper. "I found something," she said, stepping inside. "I was cleaning out the storage unit, going through Mom's things, and I found this." She handed me the box. "I think she would have wanted you to have it." I opened it slowly. Inside was a pocket watch, antique-looking, with an ornate silver case and a black leather fob. It was beautiful. The face was cream-colored with Roman numerals, delicate hands, intricate scrollwork around the edges. "I don't remember your mother having this," I said, turning it over in my hands. "It was in one of her jewelry boxes," Claire said quickly. "From her grandmother, I think. I had it cleaned and restored for you. It still works perfectly. I thought you could carry it. You know, keep her close." My throat tightened. I ran my thumb over the smooth silver case. "This is beautiful, sweetheart. Thank you." Claire leaned in and kissed my cheek. "I love you, Dad. I want you to carry it every day, okay? Promise me." I promised. because she was my daughter, and she'd given me a piece of her mother back. I started carrying that pocket watch everywhere. In my vest pocket while I worked in the workshop. In my coat pocket when I went to the grocery store. I'd find myself taking it out, opening the case, watching the second hand tick around. It felt like holding a piece of Margaret, like she was still with me, somehow. 10 days later, I had the dream. It was the night before Thanksgiving. I'd spent the day preparing food for the next day's dinner, which we'd planned to have at my house. Claire and Derek and the boys were coming over. I'd made Margaret's cornbread dressing, her cranberry sauce with orange zest, her pumpkin pie from scratch. The house smelled like it used to on holidays, and I'd cried twice while cooking, but they were good tears. I went to bed around 11, exhausted but content. And then I saw her. Margaret was standing at the foot of my bed, wearing her favorite blue sweater, the one I'd buried her in. She looked exactly as I remembered her, 58 years old. Silver hair, those warm brown eyes that had looked at me with love for 4 decades, but her face was worried, urgent. "Robert," she said, and her voice sounded so real I could have sworn she was actually there. "Listen to me very carefully." I tried to speak, but nothing came out. "Don't carry that pocket watch," she said. "The one Claire gave you. Don't touch it. Don't open it. Robert, please, you have to listen to me." She took a step closer, and I could see tears on her cheeks. "Check the mechanism inside. The spring release behind the face. Robert, please. Our daughter is not who you think she is." "What are you talking about?" I finally managed to say. "Check the watch," Margaret repeated. Her image was starting to fade, like smoke dissipating. "Before Thanksgiving dinner. Promise me, Robert. Promise me you'll check." "Margaret, wait." But she was gone. I woke up gasping, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might be having a heart attack. My t-shirt was soaked with sweat. The digital clock on my nightstand read 3:47 in the morning. I sat there in the dark for a long time, trying to catch my breath. It was just a dream, just my grief playing tricks on me. Margaret was gone, dead. She couldn't warn me about anything. But God, it had felt so real. I got up, went to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, looked at myself in the mirror. "You're losing it, old man," I thought. 4 years alone and you're finally cracking. But when I went back to the bedroom, I saw the pocket watch on my dresser where I'd left it before bed, and something made me pick it up. It was 4 in the morning. Nothing was open. I held that watch in my hand and thought about what Margaret had said. Check the mechanism inside, the spring release behind the face. I went down to my workshop. I had tools there, magnifying glasses, tiny screwdrivers for detail work on furniture. I turned on the bright overhead lamp and sat at my workbench. My hands were shaking as I opened the back case of the watch. The mechanism inside was beautiful, intricate, gears and springs and tiny jeweled bearings. I didn't know much about watchmaking, but I knew craftsmanship when I saw it. This was expert-level work. I looked closer with the magnifying glass. Everything seemed normal. Standard pocket watch mechanism, nothing unusual. I was about to close it back up when I noticed something odd. There was a small secondary spring near the crown mechanism, the part that you pull out to set the time. It didn't quite fit with the rest of the design. It looked newer, different metal. Using my smallest screwdriver, I carefully examined the area around this spring, and that's when I saw it. There was a tiny needle, no bigger than a splinter, attached to the spring mechanism. It was positioned so that when you pulled the crown out to adjust the time, as you would naturally do several times a week, the spring would release, and the needle would extend outward by about 1/8 of an inch, right where your finger would be. My blood went cold. I looked closer. The tip of the needle had a slight discoloration, a dark amber residue. I sat back in my chair, my mind racing. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be what I thought it was. I grabbed my phone and did a search for watchmakers in Seattle. Found one that advertised 24-hour emergency service for insurance purposes. Called the number. An older man answered on the 3rd ring, sounding annoyed at being woken up at 4:30 in the morning. "This better be an emergency," he said. "I think someone is trying to kill me," I said. There was a pause. "What?" I have a pocket watch. There's a mechanism inside I need identified. And I think there's poison on a needle. I need an expert to look at it. I'll pay whatever you want. Another pause. Are you serious right now? Completely serious. I'm 67 years old and I think my life is in danger. Please. Something in my voice must have convinced him. Give me your address. I'll be there in 40 minutes. His name was Samuel Hoffman. He was 71, a master watchmaker who'd been in the business for 50 years. He showed up at my house at 5:15 in the morning wearing pajama pants under his coat and carrying a leather case of tools. I showed him the watch, showed him the needle mechanism. He put on a jeweler's loop and examined it for 10 minutes without saying a word. Finally, he sat back and looked at me. Where did you get this? My daughter gave it to me 2 weeks ago. She said it was from my late wife's collection. Samuel nodded slowly. This modification is professional grade. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. The spring mechanism is set to release after approximately 5 to 7 activations of the crown. Pull the crown out to set the time 5 times, and on the 5th, 6th, or 7th pull, the needle extends. Anyone handling the watch would naturally pull the crown out regularly to check the time, adjust for daylight savings, whatever. Eventually, you'd trigger the release. And the needle? I'd need to test it to be sure, but that discoloration is consistent with ricin or possibly aconite. Both are extremely toxic. A puncture wound this small would deliver enough poison to cause cardiac arrest within hours. It would look like natural causes. Heart attack, especially in someone your age. I couldn't breathe. I literally could not catch my breath. Samuel had to help me to a chair. You need to call the police, he said, right now. But I couldn't think straight. My daughter, my only child, the baby girl I'd held in my arms when she was born, the little girl who'd called me daddy and sat on my lap to read stories, the young woman who danced with me at her wedding. She'd tried to kill me. Why? I whispered. Samuel looked at me with something like pity. In my experience, money. It's almost always money. Thanksgiving dinner was supposed to start at 2 o'clock that afternoon. At 9 in the morning, I called Claire. Happy Thanksgiving, Dad, she answered, sounding cheerful. I could hear the boys in the background, Derek saying something about football. Sweetheart, I need you to come over early, I said, keeping my voice steady. Just you. There's something we need to discuss. Is everything okay? Just come over, please. 11 o'clock. She showed up at 11:15. I was sitting in my living room, the pocket watch on the coffee table in front of me. Samuel Hoffman was in my workshop, waiting. I'd asked him to stay, to be a witness to whatever was about to happen. Claire came in smiling, but when she saw my face, the smile faded. Dad? What's wrong? I gestured to the chair across from me. Sit down. She sat slowly, her eyes moving to the pocket watch on the table. Something flickered across her face. Fear, maybe, or calculation. I had a dream about your mother last night, I said quietly. Claire's hands tightened on the arms of the chair. Oh? She told me to check the mechanism inside this watch. The one you gave me. The color drained from Claire's face. So I did, I continued. I opened it up, found something very interesting. A spring-loaded needle mechanism, with what appears to be poison on the tip. A master watchmaker has examined it. He's in my workshop right now, and he's prepared to testify to the police about what he found. Claire stood up abruptly. Dad, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't. My voice came out harder than I'd ever spoken to her. Don't lie to me. Not now. I need to know why. That's all I need. Just tell me why. She stared at me for a long moment. Then, something in her face crumpled. She sat back down, and tears started streaming down her cheeks. We're broke, she whispered. What? Derek and I. We're broke. Worse than broke. We're $2 million in debt. I couldn't process what I was hearing. How is that even possible? Derek makes $200,000 a year. Made. Past tense. Claire wiped her eyes. He got laid off 18 months ago. We didn't tell you because we thought he'd get another job quickly. But he didn't. And we'd already bought the bigger house. And the Tesla? And we'd invested in Derek's friend's startup that went bankrupt. And the boys' private school tuition is $60,000 a year for both of them. We took out loans, then more loans to cover the first loans. We put everything on credit cards. We're drowning, Dad. My heart was breaking even as horror washed over me. So you decided to kill me? No. She looked up, her face streaked with tears. God, no, I would never. I mean, I didn't plan it. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Derek found this guy online, some dark web thing, I don't even know. A specialist. He said it would be painless. You'd just have a heart attack. No one would suspect anything. You're 67. You live alone. You've been depressed since Mom died. Everyone would just think it was your time. I felt like I was going to vomit. Who else knows about this? Just Derek and me. The boys don't know anything, I swear to God. Does Derek know you're here right now? She shook her head. He thinks I'm picking up wine for dinner. I sat there, looking at this woman, who I'd raised, who I'd loved more than my own life, who had just confessed to planning my murder. And the worst part was, underneath the betrayal and the horror, I still loved her. She was still my daughter. That's what made it unbearable. You need to leave, I said finally. Dad, get out of my house. Right now. I need to think. Claire stood up, sobbing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We were desperate. The bank was going to foreclose. We were going to lose everything. I know that's not an excuse. I know what we did is unforgivable. But I'm still your daughter. You tried to kill me. My voice broke. My own child tried to poison me for money. Get out. She left. I sat there for a long time, staring at that pocket watch. Eventually, Samuel came out from the workshop. I heard everything, he said quietly. I have it all on my phone recorder. What do you want to do? That was the question, wasn't it? What did I want to do? I could call the police. Have Claire and Derek arrested. They'd go to prison. My grandsons would lose both parents. Tyler was 9. Mason was 7. They'd grow up knowing their mother tried to murder their grandfather for inheritance money. Or I could do something else. I spent the rest of Thanksgiving Day alone. I didn't eat. I just sat and thought. Around 6 o'clock, Claire called. I didn't answer. She called again at 7. At 8, she left voicemails, crying, begging me to talk to her. Derek called once. I didn't answer that either. At 9 o'clock, I called my attorney, Patricia Monroe. She'd handled Margaret's estate and knew my family well. I told her I needed to make some changes to my will immediately, that it was urgent. She said she'd meet me at her office first thing Friday morning. That night, I had another dream. Margaret again, same blue sweater, same worried eyes. But this time, she was smiling. You listened, she said. Thank God, you listened. How did you know? I asked. How did you warn me? I don't know how it works, she said softly. I just knew you were in danger. I could feel it. And somehow, I could reach you. She came closer, and I could almost feel her presence, that familiar warmth I'd missed for 4 years. What are you going to do now? I don't know, I admitted. She's our daughter, Margaret. Our baby girl. She's also a woman who tried to murder her father for money. Margaret's voice was gentle but firm. You can love her and still hold her accountable. Those two things can both be true. Will you tell me what to do? No. This is your choice, Robert. Whatever you decide, I'll understand. But promise me, you'll keep living, really living. That's all I've ever wanted for you. When I woke up Friday morning, I knew what I had to do. At Patricia Monroe's office, I changed my will. Everything, the house, the workshop, the retirement accounts, all of it would now go into a trust for Tyler and Mason. Claire and Derek would have no access to it. They could never touch a penny. When the boys turned 25, they'd inherit everything equally. Until then, the trust would pay for their education and basic needs only. I also drafted a letter to be read to Claire and Derek. In it, I explained that I knew what they'd done. I had evidence. I had a witness. I had a confession on recording. But I was choosing not to go to the police, for my grandson's sake. Instead, they had 2 options. They could declare bankruptcy, sell everything they owned, downsize their lives, and get real jobs and maintain some relationship with me under very strict conditions, or they could contest my decision in which case I would immediately turn all evidence over to the police and they would both go to prison for attempted murder. Patricia looked at me when she finished typing it all up. Are you sure about this, Robert? No, I said honestly. But it's what I'm doing anyway. I had Patricia deliver the letter to Claire and Derek's house that same day. I didn't want to see them. I couldn't. Not yet. 2 days later, Claire called. I answered. We'll do whatever you want, she said. Her voice was hollow, defeated. We're putting the house on the market. Derek took a job at a tech support company. I'm going back to work. The boys are transferring to public school. We'll pay off our debts. However long it takes. Good. Can we still see you? Can the boys still see their grandpa? I closed my eyes. Tyler and Mason. My grandsons, who had nothing to do with any of this. Yes, but supervised visits only. 1 Sunday a month, at a neutral location. If you ever, and I mean ever, give me reason to think you're a danger to me or anyone else, I will not hesitate to call the police. Do you understand? Yes. And Claire? Yes? I want you to get help. Real help. Therapy. Both of you. I don't know what happened to you. What made you think this was okay? But you need to figure it out. She was crying again. I'm sorry, Dad. I know that doesn't mean anything anymore, but I'm so sorry. I know you are. I hung up before I started crying too. That was 3 months ago. Claire and Derek sold their house, moved into a small rental apartment. They're both working now, digging themselves out of debt. I see Tyler and Mason once a month at a park near my house. We play on the swings. I buy them ice cream. They ask why they can't come to Grandpa's house anymore, and I tell them it's complicated, that grown-ups sometimes make mistakes that change things. Maybe when they're older, I'll tell them the truth. Or maybe I won't. I haven't decided yet. I still carry a pocket watch, but this one actually was Margaret's. I found it in her real jewelry box, a simple silver one her grandfather gave her when she graduated high school. I had it repaired by Samuel Hoffman, who's become something of a friend. We have coffee sometimes, talk about craftsmanship, about loss, about the strange ways life turns out. I still dream about Margaret. Not every night, but often enough. Sometimes she just sits with me, holding my hand like she used to on our porch. Sometimes she tells me things, gives me advice. I don't know if it's really her spirit reaching across from wherever she is, or if it's just my subconscious mind processing grief and trauma in the form of her image. I've stopped caring which one it is. What I know is this: love is real. Love is powerful enough to transcend death, whether that transcendence happens through actual spiritual connection or through the way the people we love become part of us, live on in our hearts and minds, guide us even when they're gone. Either way, Margaret saved my life. And here's the thing that keeps me up at night sometimes. If I hadn't had that dream, if I hadn't checked the watch, I'd be dead right now. I would have adjusted the time, triggered that needle, been poisoned. I would have died thinking my daughter loved me, never knowing she'd chosen money over her own father's life. I don't know which is worse, the betrayal of knowing or the mercy of dying ignorant. But I'm still here. I'm still breathing. And I'm trying to keep the promise I made to Margaret 4 years ago. I'm trying to really live. I've started dating someone. Her name is Linda. She's 63. A widow like me. We met at a grief support group. It feels strange and wonderful and guilty all at once. But when I dreamed about Margaret last week and told her about Linda, she smiled and said, "Good. That's good, Robert. I want you to be happy. So I'm trying." I've also started teaching furniture restoration at the community college 1 night a week, passing on what I know. It feels meaningful in a way working alone never did. And I'm writing this all down because I want people to understand something important. The people we love don't really leave us. They become part of who we are. They live in our choices, our memories, our instincts. When we listen to that little voice inside that says something's wrong, that warns us, that guides us, maybe that's not just our intuition. Maybe that's everyone who ever loved us, looking out for us still. Margaret saved my life from beyond the grave, whether you believe in ghosts or not. And I'm using that second chance she gave me to honor her memory, the only way I know how, by living fully, loving carefully, and trusting that the people who truly love us will never really leave us, no matter how far they go. As for Claire, I don't know if we'll ever fully repair what she broke. Maybe that's not possible. Maybe the best we can hope for is some kind of peaceful coexistence where she works on becoming better and I work on forgiving her. Or maybe we'll never get there. Time will tell. But I do know this. Every morning when I wake up, I'm grateful. Grateful to be alive. Grateful for the warning I received, however it came. Grateful for Margaret's love that protected me even from our own daughter. Grateful for one more day to try to get things right. That pocket watch that was meant to kill me? I had Samuel disable the poison mechanism, and I keep it locked in a safe. Evidence if I ever need it. A reminder of how close I came. Sometimes I take it out and look at it, marvel at the intricate cruelty of it. Someone spent time and money and expertise creating this beautiful thing designed solely to murder me. And my daughter paid them to do it. But mostly I carry Margaret's watch, the one that's actually hers. I keep it in my vest pocket, close to my heart, and I swear I can feel it ticking in rhythm with my heartbeat, like she's still with me, like she'll always be with me. Listen to your dreams, friends. Listen to that voice inside that warns you when something's wrong. Pay attention to the people who love you, even the ones who are gone, because sometimes, just sometimes, love really is stronger than death. And sometimes the people we trust most are the ones we need to be saved from. Thank you for listening to my story. I don't know why I felt compelled to share it, but maybe someone out there needed to hear it. Maybe someone else is ignoring a warning they shouldn't ignore. Maybe someone else needs to know they're not crazy for believing their lost loved ones still watch over them. Take care of yourselves. Trust carefully. Love deeply. And never ever ignore a warning dream from someone who loved you. They might just be trying to save your life.